From Dogman to Sasquatch to paranormal, the unknown is out there, and whatever lurks in the darkness of the night is watching. You're listening to the Venomous Fringe.
Good evening, folks, and welcome to the Venomous Fringe. Tonight's show, we are going into Arizona as we talk about the mysterious phenomenon of upright canines seen throughout the state. Like we do with the other shows we've done on States and Activity, we want to make these shows educational but as well as important for not only just data, but, for example, if you are a resident within the Arizona state or within the area of a certain portion of the state, such as Phoenix, for example, which have several sightings, you would also want to know where the surroundings are and what to look out for, even though in many cases with Dogman, it's the case being of not looking out but knowing where they're at exactly. So what you would know where they're at, and if you're a researcher and want to get a research team around the area, of course, at your own risk, and of course when it comes to permits and of course permissions, just as always, stay safe. But the whole basis of these shows is to put data out there and to help others within state regions, of course, who don't know too much about where the Dogman activity is in their respected portion of the state. So I think doing these shows have really helped people. I know the Florida episode and the Pennsylvania episode, a lot of people talked about them there and there, so I'm very happy that a lot of you are enjoying them. And I know it comes with a lot of risk sometimes, because I know for some of you, and there's a lot in Arizona that you could definitely have a majority of people who have had experiences. And it's also interesting because some of these experiences happened in a Native American reservoir. So this, to me, it's pretty exciting to talk about. So I'm not going to hold it up any further. Let's take a look at the state of Arizona first of all. You could see at the size of the map that you have something here that it's scattered. You have on the south, you have east, you have west. There's always reports. North and south majority, but really, to be honest with you, you could consider it both ways. But in a way, though, with Arizona, there's a lot going on. But at the same time, the activity is so widespread, you really got to get a good idea on what we're looking at, to be exact. So I'm going to kick it off with we're going to start off with Flagstaff, Arizona. Now, this was north by the Gray Mountain, and there is a forest, and I apologize if I butcher the name, but Kaibab National Forest is west of this sighting seen on the map. And this was a sighting of a dogman crossing the road, summer of 97. This is the description of the encounter. About June 30th, 1997, Flagstaff, Arizona, while I was driving a van eastbound, I saw a huge dogman that looked like a combo of a grizzly and wolf hybrid bounding the run on four legs going northbound across the dirt road I was driving on. It was dark cinnamon in color. It did not bother me, and it appeared to have other interests on its mind. Even though I accelerated the vehicle to intercept and cut off the critter's axis of travel, it increased its running speed and got into the interception point before the vehicle could get there. The GPS coordinates are all intercept point where the dogman crossed the dirt road. And I will put the coordinates in the description, but it's pretty interesting when eyewitnesses mention coordinates and showcase where the coordinates go to. And the thing is that where this took place, it's not too far from a national forest. Now, I always tend to think that national forests are a big hotspot for some sort of plantation for dogmen or even Sasquatch to rest in, so to speak. And I think in this case, could that possibly be a hotspot for them, and they can cross, and it's north of Flagstaff, and it's not too far away. You look on the map right now, it's not even far away at all, so it's interesting to me. But you could say that it could be a yes or a no on it, but it's not where this took place, and the coordinates, of course, matched the exact location over here. this is basically something that, whatever you have, it's definitely something upright and not your typical zoological creature. This is an interesting description of the creature too, by the way, folks. If you had heard what I had mentioned about the grizzly bear and wolf hybrid bounding looking creature, that this is how he described it. There is this movie called Cursed. It's a 2004 horror movie, and the werewolf in that movie, and I'll put a photo of it in on the slides as you can see now, just to give an example. I feel that this is what's close to that type of hybrid. At the same time, there was another werewolf movie. I forgot the name, but I'll leave a link to it in the description. There was a grizzly-looking werewolf creature. So it's interesting to me how a lot of these Dogman look like something you'd see out of a Hollywood movie, but at the same time, the purpose of what I'm saying is that there's some sort of drawn fascination with how we get the descriptions of what we see in fiction, and how it just accelerates even into the belief that these things do exist. There's no way. And I would think that this is a canine variant, but could it be a different variant than the variants that we know of? And could this be a variant? You can classify this as a variant 5. Dogmen are much like these scavenger type animals that have these abilities that they look like something you'd see out of not just, the work of a fiction, but the fact that they do have a power. Not a power of supernatural, possibly, but I wouldn't, like I always say, I don't believe a Dogman could be it's a flesh and blood, but I don't believe it to be a supernatural creature. Anything supernatural is like a werewolf type. Now, there could be the skinwalker aspect of the creature. Could it possibly have the abilities to look like that? Because when you hear of a grizzly and wolf hybrid, if you follow genetics, I'm pretty sure that you can't cross DNA, in a sense, with the genetics of both a grizzly and a wolf. I could be wrong on that, folks. I am not anywhere near in that profession, but please correct me if I'm wrong on that. But could it be something else? Most likely. I mean, in the source of it, who knows? But this is just one of those cases that just startles you. But again, I don't think that this was It could be a Dogman case where, yes, this is a Dogman. They can be a hybrid after all, like that. And much like other hybrids out there that we don't know of, most likely. Whereas it may not be a skinwalker, but we don't know for sure. The description basically goes on that the guy was just trying to intercept the creature, as it, of course, got the best of him. But luckily, he was able to get out of it in one piece. So that's a very interesting case, and of course, like I said, by the Cape Ab National Forest on the eastern portion, this forest could be a good hotspot for them, but who knows exactly if they could be running around from there. If you are a resident of Flagstaff and you do want to submit a report or of an encounter, feel free to reach me at thevenomousfringe@gmail.com, and I will leave a link to my email in the description. And folks, if you are from any region we're talking about tonight and have a report just in general, like I mentioned, feel free to reach me. So let's move on and accelerate. Now let's go a little east into Indian Wells. Indian Wells, right in the Navajo County area, had a report, and this was reported also on the dogmanencounters.com. Big shout out to Vic Cundiff as well as Dogman Encounters. Every story we are covering here tonight will be a link in the description. You can check out the original story, and credit will go to that respected owner, like we've done with every other episode, going from Vic to Linda to Lon to the Phantom and Monsters Forum to Paranormal About, the Crypto Crew, the whole majority of the news-related article cryptid blogs out there. Thank you for your contributions to the field, as well as all credit goes to you. This report happened in 2015 with 2 possible dogmen. While scanning the valley floor for sheep a mile from the house, the eyewitness noticed 2 looping figures. Initially, he thought the figures were coyotes or stray dogs. Figures near the old sunken vehicle, the eyewitness noticed that the things were about the size of the vehicle, nearly 8 feet long. No animal could be that big on the res. The eyewitness watched the two figures until they disappeared into the woods across the valley. It was starting to get dark, but the moon was bright enough. The eyewitness walked without a light. He walked down the mountain and heard some yelling. It was like a howl or a yell. The eyewitness started to leave the area, and then when he returned to his house, he locked the door and spent the night listening to the strangest howls. The eyewitness had said he had seen two creatures. The figures at first he thought were coyote or dogs, so this was a typical canine variant, what I believe. Normal coyote variant 2, 3, to be exact. Maybe I could be wrong on that, but something that was interesting to me about that. The two figures near the old sunken vehicle, that he mentioned that these were about 8 feet long. These creatures looked exactly like they were over the tower in the car. So these were definitely giant animals that he was looking at. Around the area of hearing the howling and yelling, it appeared it may have been a live food source, and the creatures just making the noises in the night. And in the location of this area, it's nice and deserted. It's very possible to see a Dogman in this location in general. The beauty of it. And the thing is that where this location and the sighting of it happened, I mean, it would make perfect sense for a Dogman or something there to make its territory known and make howls and sounds, and in clear areas too, which is very mysterious on its own end. But this was one of those cases that really does makes the hair on the back of your head stand up, because hearing strange sounds at night like that, personally, are some things that many eyewitnesses, they're freaked out about. Because you don't know what kind of creature this is, and I think a lot of people do know this, but for all those who are still new to the subject, these are creatures that we still cannot explain, and I think the most important thing is that we take a gist on what's open as opinion and what could be classified and declassified, but it's a tough process because the field is it's one of those things. But I'm going off subject. My apologies, folks. But this is another sighting that took place east of the Hopi Reservation. This report happened basically in between the narrows of New Mexico and Arizona, but this was a report of a furless skinwalker that crossed the road. The phantoms, and this was the paranormal about weird creatures, monsters form from this story. The eyewitness said he was leaving his friend's house after the band practice from Flagstaff, Arizona, if I apologize if I butchered the name, at around 3 a.m. His high beams were on. At the very edge of the light, about 100 yards away, he saw a tall, thin bipedal being slowly cross the highway. The being's appearance was grayish and had a large head that resembled a canine's with a snout and pointy ears. It did not appear to have fur or hair or tail at all. The being did not give any indication that it noticed him. It had a slouching walk. He describes it as posture being in the shape of a question mark, and its hands almost reached to its knees. It did not have a tail, and judging by the considered trees in the area, its estimated height was about 7 feet. So again, another report of a possible, the way it's shaped, the description of how it was shaped is curious, because this is one of those cases in the Dogman realm where it could be something totally different. And so that's a very interesting report that's kind of fascinated me to an extent, because it appears that there's a lot of skinwalker-like, unknown, cryptid-like creatures roaming through Arizona. There was an individual who I'd spoken to in the group who had mentioned to me that he had seen a giant-looking, upright, skinwalker-looking creature, looked like the rake, and he had mentioned it somewhere not in the Nova portion, but not too far from these locations. So that makes me wonder here if there is a bit of a skinwalker somewhat connection with the location landmarks. But it's truly fascinating to me because I feel that there is a different group and different pods of different cryptids, such as Dogman or skinwalkers or whatever you want to call them, roaming these portions of throughout Arizona. But these are some very interesting reports that I had seen, and I thought those were pretty cool. And, as always, I mean, there's always something here that really does make you wonder. It makes the hairs on the back of your neck stand up, as I always call it. I want to now transfer over towards Sierra Vista. Hopefully I said that right. This was a Dogman report that happened in 1987, nearly 32 years ago. This was coming from the dogmanencounters.com in the Cochise County, Arizona. The story goes as I follow. The eyewitness opened the back door and was looking out in the darkness at that point. The eyewitness stepped out when she saw a pair of eyes looking back at them, out of the darkness. From the top of the eyewitness's head in the trailer to the ground, they looked about 7+ feet or so tall. The set of eyes looking at this individual, level and square. The eyewitness thought it was a coyote, must have been on a small gravel hill, paving the roads back in the day, a bird on a mosquito bush. The eyewitness thought to themselves that the monsoon was awfully bad and rained hard. What kind of bird would hunker down on a mesquite bush, and why would a coyote be out in a downpour? The eyewitness was raising the rifle, drawing a bead of eyes, when the lightning lights look up at night. All of a sudden, a lightning illuminates the small gravel hill, 6 feet high, surrounding mesquite bushes. The light winks out as fast as it appeared from the lighting ground. Nothing on the gravel hill and no bird or any mesquite bushes. Then it dawned on the eyewitness that whatever it was very tall and was still staring at him. A sense of dread crept over the eyewitness and realized that there was a 30-30, only one had a measly bullet. And if the bullet the eyewitness had missed, there was no way he'd be able to reload before it was too close to them. The eyewitness kept the gun pointed as quickly and closed the door. The eyewitness locked the door, realizing the trailer would never withstand whatever was out there if it attacked. I find cases like this to be somewhat quite intimidating. The eyewitness had his rifle ready to go in case this creature was going to charge at him, and they weren't too far apart from one another. What I like about stories like this is that you have a confrontation almost, but the Dogman creature or whatever it was just staring right at him, and the lightning illumination off the gravel hill surely showed that size difference. This also reminds me of the cases of involving Dogman being seen during thunderstorms and lightning flashes. Some believe there's some sort of kinetic energy that these creatures can hold that cause them to be seen in such narrow-minded places, but at the same time, there's also an understanding that if these things have some sort of connection energy-wise, that it's massive enough for them to do whatever they wish. And you gotta remember too, folks, Dogmen are one of those cryptids that there's a lot of unknown answers we got, whereas we have a lot of questions. I think we have more questions than we do answers in this field. And for why they're illuminating, why there's lightning and thunderstorms, why they're seen at that rate, that makes me wonder. And I want to know what would be the case, whether it's energy, whether it's the fact of just exploration. I don't know, but that's just my little guess on things. I want to now transition to Bayard, where there is a report of 4 teenagers in 1970 seeing a werewolf run next to a car. In Fort Gallup, this is a story off the Arizona-New Mexico border. Fort Gallup, New Mexico youths allegedly encountered what they called a werewolf along the side of the road near Whitewater one day in January of 1970 when they were on the way to Zuni. Managed to keep pace with their car, which was traveling at 45 miles per hour. One witness reported it was about to go about 5 feet 7, and I was surprised it could go so fast, the eyewitness recalled. At first, I thought my friends were playing a joke on me, but when I found out that they weren't, I was scared, and we rolled up the windows real fast and locked doors of the car. I started driving faster, about 60 miles per hour, but it was hard because that highway has a lot of sharp turns. Someone finally got a gun at it and shot at it. I know I got hit and fell down, but there was no blood. I know I couldn't be a person because people cannot move that fast. Another encounter that is very interesting to me, because this is 1970, so nearly almost literally 50 years ago, involving 4 youths who had an encounter with a dogman, and whatever this was, or a werewolf as they called it, it's something of interest right there. That's something right there that I can't even myself explain, but definitely interesting for what it is. I realize that there's a big gap between Arizona and New Mexico, so it might actually be just New Mexico for this one report, but that's a little sneak peek, I guess, for the New Mexico stories, which of course there's not a lot, but anyways, we'll head back into it to Arizona. So my apologies on that, guys, but there you go, a little sneak peek of the new New Mexico episode. Our last location, and I want to take a look at, is the Phoenix, Arizona. Now, Phoenix, Arizona has 3 distinct reports of domestic dogman encounters, or what appears to be dogman, so let's get into them right now. A were-dog skinwalker kept up with the car in 2007. This was in Phoenix, Arizona, west of Goodyear, approximately around the South Mountain Village. The report goes and follows. The eyewitness was driving down Base Lane Road and passed a park. She saw a large dog sitting in the park and paid no attention, but then she saw it was starting to run after her car. She said it stayed right with her on the driver's side and did not seem to want to give up. She floored the gas and was going really fast, and the dog kept up. Finally, she lost it. She looked in the rearview mirror, and the dog stood up on its hind legs and walked across the road. She vowed to never be in that area again at night. She said a short time after that, a friend was driving to her house down Baseline and saw the same creature. It chased her also and walked on 2 legs. Like the New Mexico report and this report, there seems to be a constant need of these creatures chasing after vehicles. I've always believed that there's something about the vehicle or something of interest that they do that for, or it's to rid of people out of the area. This was in a residential community, or at least in a residential stance to be exact. So I believe that if this dogman being sighted at a park, which interests me because I can understand that there's no necessary reported time of when this report happened. All we know is that this report was around this area and this is what happened. And for a dogman to be in a park like that, that's something to me that just really, it makes you wonder. It makes the hairs on the back of your neck stand up, you know? But whatever it was and whatever chased her, it chased her friend as well, her friend as I mentioned, and it makes me wonder if this is something slightly not a dogman. Maybe this was something even far more. But she described it as a were-dog, and it was reported it could be a skinwalker. This could have been maybe a skinwalker. I'm not saying it was, but I'm saying it could possibly be one. But this is something of interest as well. So, if you are from the South Mountain Village report area and want to submit a report, feel free to. I want to transition east towards Mesa Community College area, the Dobson Ranch report area by the Kiwanis Park. And this is a report that happened of a huge werewolf chasing teenagers off a golf course. Now, this kind of makes, this could be a small connection here, because this is only east, and it's not too far. Estimation-wise, probably about maybe 15, 20 miles, maybe less than that. It doesn't even seem that far. Not even far at all, but the map, maps tell difference. Maps look like everything's so close. But the report goes that 4 teenagers walked onto the Shamilar golf course, and I hope if I butchered that term again, I do apologize. Under the cover of darkness, the course is in a highly populated residential area of the city, so the group tried to keep quiet, walking along the palm trees next to a wall. Then their world changed. Reported as said from one of the eyewitnesses, "We were talking. My girlfriend says something like, 'Hey, something just jumped out of that palm tree.' A few seconds later, she lets out a blood-curdling scream and a pure shocked reaction. The eyewitness turned and saw something he'd only seen in movies. There's a creature lumbering along the wall towards us," the eyewitness said. "It was tall as me, 6 foot, hunched over, huge snout like a werewolf. The beast lunged towards the teens and they took off. It was chasing after us," the eyewitness mentioned. "I turned and ran and I didn't think to look back." Could have this been a skinwalker or a dogman, or perhaps a dogman that was trying to get people out of the area, or purposely saying, "Leave me alone, my cover could be blown," something like that. This happens. And it's been another report in a residential area makes me wonder if there's a connection between the South Mountain Village report and now this report. I want to know if there's more in this area from the Shalimar golf course, because I want to know if there's something that we're not entirely getting here. But it's a very interesting case. Reportedly, too, it said that the creature looked like it had just jumped out of the palm tree. A dogman has capability, in my opinion, of hiding in trees, has the ability of climbing trees. They're like bear. But there's, I think, a few setbacks to them. I personally would not want to be in the dogman's tree, for sure. There was a skinwalker report at 3 poles. This is the last report in the Phoenix, Arizona region. The story goes as followed. The eyewitnesses left, saw a Rottweiler walking on its hind legs straight to the middle of our camp. It was easy 5 feet tall and had bright orange eyes. The eyewitness freaked out and screamed as it was running at them. Still standing up, it disappeared into a bush after the eyewitnesses turned to the corner. Later on, at the other camp, an old man and his face covered up by hair visited us and acted very strangely. We ran out of drinks, so a friend and I decided to head out on foot. No car, a friend had to take it home. We saw the car, and as it approached, it slowed down to a halt, and at the same man asked if we wanted to ride. We had said no, because by this time the friends and I had told me that the man was a skinwalker. He grabbed my arm and pulled me by his collar and looked straight at me. As my friend ran up to grab me, the man took off in his car. Could this and the other 2 reports be connected? Could it be the same person, just this time this guy is revealing to be a human being? See, folks, we don't know that for sure. We don't have a good grip on it. But what we do know is that whatever it was and whatever these eyewitnesses had seen, it was something that's very, very far much a creepy cryptid. Now, there's also reports of how older gentlemen could look like a dogman or a skinwalker, so to speak. And it does make sense if this is one of those cases. But truly, we don't know for sure. But what we do know is that there might be a connection with these 3 cases. The mentioning of how it looked like a Rottweiler. Now, reports of skinless like dogmen with like hair, no hair. It's reported, but I believe this could be maybe a skinwalker. And the 2 other reports that are just west, Mesa Community College. First of all, this report here, as you can see, if you look at the left, the other report is the report I just talked about involving the 4 teens running off the golf course. So could this be the same person? Just these are 2 different parties seeing it. The camp nearby, another thing. Let me know what you guys think in the comment section down below. But as you can see, guys, Arizona's filled with some reports, and it looks like there's a lot of skinwalker-like activity there versus some actual dogman reports. Whether you think that dogmen and skinwalkers are the same and they're supernatural, that's your opinion, but I believe dogmen are flesh and blood, as I believe skinwalkers and werewolves are supernatural. And it's a very terrifying case, I think. Arizona's got a lot of activity. So if you are from the Arizona area and you would like to submit a report, feel free to reach me at thevenomousfringe@gmail.com. We're going to conclude the show tonight. I want to thank you all for listening to the show. Folks, as you know, we have a Discord. There is a link in the comment section, in the description, my apologies, where you could go and click on the link. And as always, guys, feel free to join our chat. Basically, we're there every day, chatting, discussing dogmen and other unknown in the world. If you guys, of course, as always, want to join a Facebook group, we have a link in the description as well. And if you would like to leave a donation, there is a PayPal link. If you enjoyed this content, guys, feel free to leave a like, subscribe, and comment your thoughts down below. And as always, folks, thank you for watching. We will see you next time.